Hello.
Hey, everyone.
Yo.
Hey there, listeners.
Hey,
this is Daniel Warren Johnson.
This is Scott Snyder.
Hey, everybody, this is Sal from Comic Pop.
This is Christopher Priest.
This is Michael Allred.
This is Paul Pope.
This is Brian Michael Bendis.
This is Christian Ward.
This is Brad.
And this is Lisa.
From Comic Book Couples Counseling.
Greetings, humans. This is David Dastmalchian.
This is Liana Kangas.
Hey, this is Tom King.
This is David Harper.
This is Brian K. Vaughan. This is Stanley Earls.
This is Bonner Milligan of the Short Box Podcast.
Hey, this is Ryan Otley.
And this is Robert Kirkman.
This is James Tynan IV.
Hey, guys, it's Greg with the First Issue Club.
This is Erica Fedd.
This is Kevin Conroy, the definitive voice of Batman.
And you are listening to...
And you are listening to...
And you are listening to the Oblivion Bar.
To the Oblivion Bar.
To the Oblivion Bar.
To the best podcast in the universe, the Oblivion Bar Podcast.
Welcome to the Oblivion Bar Podcast with your host, Chris Hacker and Aaron Knowles.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 200 of the Oblivion Bar Podcast. I am Chris Hacker, one of your co-hosts here, and joining me is my BFF and my cohort throughout the entire time here at the Oblivion Bar, Aaron Knowles.
Except for maybe like two or three episodes.
Yeah, there's some in there. What
yeah.
You've done some episodes without me, right?
I've done some interviews, some like bonus episodes. Yes. Yeah.
Yep.
But I say that specifically, I think really early on, there was at least one or two episodes where we had like a guest co-host because I wasn't able to be there.
This is a good place to start, actually, everybody. Keep that in mind. Really quick intro. Everybody, thank you so much for joining us for episode 200. This is going to be very freeform. Aaron and I do not have a transcript. We don't have really anything planned. We kind of game planned a little bit on the grid that we just recorded episode 171. But I think that we really wanted this to be really raw for episode 200.
Yeah, just like the emotion.
Just like the emotion and, contact, right? Raw.
Yeah.
Ooh, raw.
Ooh, no.
Hooah. We want to just free flow this thing. Total brain dump into a conversation about the last 5 years of doing the show. We started doing this in April of 2020. It was sort of this nugget of an idea that we had always sort of had going back to our time in the military together. We wanted to create some kind of show where we talked about nerd stuff. That's really like the roots.
I think there was a couple of different versions of this that like popped up in our heads. I think at one point we wanted to open a bar.
Yeah.
A comic shop, a card shop. Like we knew that
we wanted some space.
We wanted our own space to create and bring about almost a pocket universe.
There it is. Nailed it.
Yeah.
And the Oblivion Bar was born. And here's a question. Actually, I'm going to answer a really quick question before we continue on with what you just said a moment ago. Everyone always asks, and most recently it was Paul Pope. He and I chatted for about 40 minutes after our conversation. He asked me,
humble brag.
What? Huh?
Humble brag.
Humble brag. We're good. We're good pals. We're good friends. He goes, where did you get the name Oblivion Bar? And I'm surprised, but he actually didn't know that it was a pocket universe in the DC universe. That's what it is, everybody, in case you're for some reason not privy. But yeah, it's a pocket bar.
Like a pocket dimension.
Yeah. In a bar sort of setting, template that a lot of the darker DC characters go and hang out in. So like John Constantine, Detective Chimp, Phantom Stranger, Spectre, Swamp Thing, all these guys go out to the Oblivion Bar. And I just really liked the idea. And I think that's kind of how it was born.
And I loved it instantly also. Like I'd never heard of it as well 5 years ago. And then I think like even recently, it's actually been a place, a location in Birds of Prey number 2.
Yes. I think it's either issue 2 or 3 where John Constantine takes Black Canary and I think Batgirl to the Oblivion Bar.
Yeah.
So anyway, let's go back. I want to talk about you. You mentioned a moment ago that like I had some fill-in guests there at the beginning of the show. I think it's important that we got, because I don't think we've ever actually talked about this on the show at all, that there was, and you can tell me if I'm like throwing you out, like throwing you under the bus. That's the term. throwing you under the bus here, but there was like everybody, Aaron and I have gone through some trials and tribulations with the show. And I think the only time that we've ever come really close to like, this isn't gonna happen anymore was probably like around like episode 10, where like we haven't found our flow yet. As many people already know, by longtime listeners of the show know that I'm an extremely anal person that requires creativity. I need that. I need to be on time. I had all these things. I had this laundry list, and I'm not saying it's easy. Trust me, I know that. And Aaron, to his credit, he put up with it then, and he's continuing to put up with it now. But I think at the time you were like, this is not what I want to do. And you were like close to like, I don't even know if I want to do this anymore.
There were a couple of times.
There were a couple times.
I'm not gonna lie. There's been.
It was last week.
No. I think it's been at least a year.
Okay, good.
At least a year since, maybe. But yeah, I mean that's the thing. I'm sure there's been times where you've probably thought about it absolutely like I'm fucking tired of this or something. I'm sure there had to have been. But I think at the end of the day, like, you know, I think we always come to, you know, okay, I'll just back up a little bit. There have been a few times where it's like, this is becoming too, not necessarily formulaic, but too much like a job. Like I'm not necessarily finding the joy in it cause like, again, like my whole motivation behind this was to talk to my best friend.
Yeah.
My whole motivation was to interact during COVID when we couldn't travel, we couldn't do anything, and like connect with my best friend and talk about the things that we love, whether it was Pokemon, whether it was video games, movies, etc. And when it got to the point where it just felt like it was becoming more of a job or a chore, and I started losing, you know, the drive to be a part of it, or like when I felt like our friendship was no longer like the focus. I think that right there. But then again, it all we had to do was come together and have like a come to Jesus moment, like a talk about it. And we always solved the issue. Every single time it just took a simple conversation where it was like, my bad, or like, I understand, I get your perspective. No, that's not difficult. Or like, I gotta like kind of clear the air. And we've always come back to continuing to do the show because I mean, at the end of the day, like that's what this is for me. This is not just me getting to talk to you because we have listeners, but it's getting to talk to you because you're my best friend.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the ultimate goal of this whole thing. And that's something that I had to grow to figure out too, because I am someone who never does anything half-heartedly, and I refuse to do anything without putting my like 110% into it. 110%. 110%. And I would sometimes be too, I would come at the conversation sort of aggressively and to sort of illustrate my frustration, which is silly. But I think we've gotten ourselves into a groove now, both from like a, I'll say like a content stage, but also like a workflow stage where like you take over some of the things on the Patreon. I still have like a big chunk of like the normal show, which is fine because that's what I want. I want like total creative control over that. And I think it's like, and also at the same time, I have stopped being so obsessed. And I'm exposing my underbelly here live on the show. Episode 200 for everybody. If you've been following the show long enough, you probably have guessed this, but I'm going to just say it right now that I was so obsessed with getting the show to be as big as possible, as quickly as possible. I wanted people to be listening to the Oblivion Bar, and I wanted us to immediately become a hub for people to come and hear us talk about comics and movies and television. And I felt all that work that we were putting in on the back end. But if anybody I'm sure most people listen to this either know a podcaster or are a podcaster or are familiar with the process, unless you're like Joe Rogan or Call Her Daddy, you're not getting millions of listeners. It's just, I mean, most people aren't getting hundreds of listens, and we've been doing that for a little bit. That's a shameless, humble brag. But like that realization, Chris in 2025 compared to Chris in 2020, besides the cancer, is that's the difference. Is me going, I'm totally fine just sitting down with, preparing the way I like to prepare, sitting down with you, Aaron, and talking about a thing that we like, or talking to a person that we like.
Yeah.
And that's like enough for me.
Yeah.
And now, if we don't get any bigger than we are right now, I'm totally fine.
But I mean, I think that's the beauty of it is, despite having like not been despite not being so consumed by it right now, we are still growing.
Yeah.
And I think that is a testament to the product that we put out and the quality of the show and the determination that we have to keep this, again, not just keep the show going, but I mean, keeping our friendship going.
Yeah.
Because it could, what was the statistic? We both knew it, or still know it probably, but like most podcasts don't go past episode like 7.
89% of podcasts in the world don't get past episode 25.
25. Yeah. I was a bit off, but close enough. But yeah, I mean,
and here we are at 200.
Here we are 175 plus past that.
Should we dive on that really quickly though?
Yeah.
I just want to hammer in that. Yeah, we're 175 past 25, but we also put out 171 grid episodes.
Mm-hmm.
We also have put out a ton of bonus episodes. So I think all in all, I actually don't have the number here in front of me. This would have been a good stat to have actually.
Yeah.
To every episode we've done so far.
Like 500?
It's probably sitting around 500. Yeah.
And that's a lot of, I mean, that's a lot of time to put into this. So, I mean, not only a shout out to us, the listeners, but also like our family, our supporters, our significant others, Carly, people who are cool enough to allow us to go step into our offices and record for hours on end or edit for even more hours and just like have the understanding that we are like putting out a product that we love to do, because we're not, I mean, to the end of the day, this is not a job.
No. And I think that makes it more important. The fact that we do this just because we love doing it. We love talking to creators and each other and the friends that we've made throughout the podcasting world and, and otherwise, not even podcasters, just regular folks that listen to the show. Most of them are friends now. So just a big thank you. I think this is a sort of a long winding road of saying thank you to you listening to this right now. If you're listening to this is Aaron and I's living document of the things that we love. That includes comics, movies, television, video games, anime.
Muscle mommies
specifically, but I think each other as well. Like years from now, when one of us dies early from eating too much pizza or being choked out by a muscle mommy's thighs, then we'll have this as like a living, breathing pocket of time that we were doing this show.
Or going on a, insane killer vacation with my wife and then, something like, I don't know, getting lost in the Antarctic or something,
Yeah, something like that.
But you know what? It's kind of funny. I wanted to bring up something that I just recently, I stumbled across just now was going through our old transcripts, and I pulled up
the very first
transcript, which you can find, I think, we should be able to. We should just post it on.
I don't think the Patreon members have access to it. Again, we're not going to do the whole Patreon thing, but if you do want to support this nonsense, patreon.com/Oblivion Bar Pod, 7-day free trial. There are multiple tiers, all the things. But if people are interested, we'd love to hear. Please send us a message or email us at oblivionbarpod@gmail.com.
Yeah, we'll send you a copy of this thing. But
we'll send it to you. Yeah,
I'm just looking at it right now. It's like if again. Inside baseball.
Yep.
Chris, for every episode, and I've tried to emulate and create a transcript, but it's incredible what he does. He is so meticulous about.
It's a sickness. Do not
every single.
Don't celebrate this.
We'll just do like a side-by-side comparison on social media. Because the transcripts we have now generally are at least 3 to 4 pages of notes and director, credits and just everything.
I hope everyone listening to this doesn't think that we know all of this off the top of our head.
We don't.
If you think we're lying to you. Okay?
We can have a transcript and we're still Googling shit while we're doing the 100%. Show. But however, I'm looking at this as the very first transcript ever and it's 1 page.
Yep.
And it's just episode title, episode 001, welcome to the Oblivion Bar. And it just says, this is our first episode, exclamation point. Let's begin the episode talking about who we are, establishing our credibility on the topics we will be discussing during
Still
the
haven't
podcast.
found that credibility.
And what the podcast will generally consist of. Let's take 5 to 10 minutes per person discussing our journey into the world of nerd and why we decided to create this podcast. From there, we'll dive into some news and notes from that week, which is April 13th, 2020. and April 9th, or to April 19th, 2020. And here are the news notes.
Okay, here we
this
go.
is so interesting. I know it's silly of me just reading this, but I think it's interesting. The first images of Denise Villeneuve's Denis Villeneuve's. See, now I can't pronounce names. 2020. Denis Villeneuve's Dune 2020 were released via Vanity Fair.
So the first pictures of the first movie.
The first pictures of the first Dune movie. The images show Timothée Chalamet's Paul Atreides, Rebecca Ferguson's Lady Jessica, Zendaya, Oscar Isaac, Josh Brolin, and Jason Momoa. The next bit of news was Sam Raimi confirms that he's directing Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, where the rumors that the director of the Evil Dead trilogy and Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man trilogy circulated a few months back, he officially confirmed his involvement. Next up was Marvel Studios reportedly has met with John Krasinski for an undisclosed role.
Oh, we found what that was. It was literally had something to do with Multiverse of Madness.
Multiverse of Madness.
Isn't that funny, full circle, that I think one of the central pillars of the show was us discussing John Krasinski joining the Fantastic Four.
And
like
here
him
we
being Reed Richards. But now we're literally a week away from seeing this Fantastic Four movie that's been in the works since the beginning of the show.
Yeah.
That's funny.
And then the last bit of news is something near and dear to both of us, which is Tron Legacy director Joseph Kosinski talks about his hope for a future sequel and believe it could still happen, according to an interview with comicbook.com. And here we are.
Yeah, Tron Ares comes out in like 2 months.
Anticipating, Tron Ares. So this is a testament.
Full circle.
These news and notes are a testament to us covering things that eventually will occur 5 years later.
Yeah. Two of those things we're like literally seeing the fruits of now.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy.
But here's the episode topic, just FYI.
Okay.
How to survive a pandemic the nerdy way.
Okay.
What have we been reading? What have we been playing, watching, doing anything? Passing time during the COVID-19 outbreak. I think you were playing the Final Fantasy VII remake, and you were starting your A24 complete watch through,
which I did. 102 episodes or 202 movies, with Hereditary being the favorite amongst all of them. Yeah.
And then apparently you read every single issue of Swamp Thing.
Yeah, Saga of Swamp Thing. I reread all through that. Everyone listening right now, if you haven't read Saga of Swamp Thing, in 2020, Chris would agree with this. It's worth a read. It's amazing.
And that's really it. I mean, we had a newsletter segment, which we, talked about like questions we got on Twitter or Instagram or on the Twitch live stream, which we used to live stream the show on.
Let's talk about this really quick. So back in the day, everybody, we first started the Oblivion Bar. Was it like the first 9 or 10 episodes?
Yeah.
We would live stream on Twitch.
Yeah.
And people would send in questions and we would answer them live on the show.
Like in the chat. Yeah.
Which again was like 3 people at most. Like if we got more than 3 people, that's what a feat, But that began to be too much. That began to be too taxing because Aaron, as many people already know, is a little scatterbrained sometimes.
A little bit.
And to have him also looking at the chat while we're also trying to record the episode, not a good decision. And also, if you go back and listen to some of those episodes, Aaron's audio is way louder than mine because we were recording through your sort of, what do you call it? Like channel?
Yeah. Through the actual, like it was, we had a chat or we had, what did we use? Zoom or we used something.
We used some kind of online recording studio. It wasn't Riverside.
But
I can't remember.
Then I would take those videos and put it into like OBS.
Yep.
And then I would use that to stream that to Twitch. And that was our first few episodes.
My gosh. Yeah. I'm so glad we're not still doing that.
Yeah.
That's funny though. I wish we still had some of those videos. Yeah. That'd be fun.
And then now I'm like looking at episode 199's.
Yeah. Which is really not even that's like that. So 199 was our Superman review. I didn't even like go full in on that.
Yeah.
Because I wanted that to be more of a free flowing conversation.
It is just pages of just notes. And it's like, for the listeners, you can check out the show notes or you can check out our transcripts with the Patreon access. But yeah, there's a clear evolution / difference. And that's the other thing is like, just to be completely transparent, there have been times where we've had to delay the recording because we just, did not have a transcript that was like too to the standard, and which is fine. I think it's great because again, kind of one thing that we want to talk about is some of the emails that we've gotten about people wanting to come onto our show.
Yeah.
A few of their emails or contacts or whatever they say when they hear about us and they want to come on the show is that, oh, we love your interview style. We love the depth and the kind of them focusing on that. We don't just ask the normal episodes or normal questions for the episodes. We don't just go and, like, hey, who's your favorite superhero? Who's your dream character that you want to write? Who's the dream person that you want to do a project with? No, like, I think one thing that we've always kind of stood on as a testament to this show is the fact that we want to bring interviews to the listeners that really break
that they haven't heard before.
That they haven't heard, breaks through maybe what a creative team is not used to, saying or giving out. Not just the alpha for whatever upcoming projects, but kind of that insight into their creative process, or when they create whatever storyline, this is the emotion that they didn't even know was attached to it. We've actually done that with creators, which I love.
What's funny about this conversation, and I appreciate the kudos to us, and I think that we're allowed to have little flowers here and there. But I have to share something. Again, we had Paul Pope on the show a couple weeks ago, and it was a great conversation. But we got one. We need to start a segment because I think, as most people know, most podcasters specifically, or creative people in general, that the moment you start getting hate mail is the moment you've made it.
We get hate mail,
and we got one piece of hate mail the other day on our Paul Pope conversation. So let's see here. So this is from.
I don't know. Maybe you shouldn't put their name out there.
We'll just say, I will say his name. Okay. But you ready for this?
Yeah.
Okay. So anyway, if you've listened to our Paul Pope conversation, and if they're listening to this episode, they're going to leave another comment. But they're like, in the beginning of the Paul Pope conversation, we do a little fart sniffing because we want to I think that's okay sometimes. And we do it for like 7 minutes. But this person says, oh my God, dude, serve the interview, not yourselves. No one is listening to this for you. We are listening for the person you're interviewing, spending an eternity, which was 6 minutes, 6 minutes and 40 seconds, of us preambling before the conversation. Spending an eternity talking about yourselves and what fantastic interviewers you are is Bush League amateur hours move. It's exactly what people resent about podcasters. Self-indulgent, bro-y, and the worst possible way, and just unprofessional. You know what? I'm going to say something really quick before you respond to that.
Yeah. I
don't give a fuck what anyone says. This is our podcast. And if you want to listen to Paul Pope talk about his thing, which I'm sure you should, and I encourage that. Sorry. You either press the little 15-second button or listen to us ham it up for a moment, because it's our show and we're allowed to be proud of ourselves.
Yeah.
And that's what we're doing right now.
Yeah.
We get this episode, we get this comment from this dude, and we spend an entire episode, at least the first, let me look at my notes here, 18 minutes or so doing exactly that. Mm-hmm. But I think that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, I just thought I would share that. I thought it was funny.
Thanks for your listen.
We appreciate the listen.
We appreciate the listen. I hope you listen to this one too.
Next time, leave a YouTube comment too. So we get that.
If you leave a comment, to this episode, we know that you're still listening. So
that's right.
Thank you.
So thank you. Undisclosed name. If you leave another comment, just let us know if we can say your name and tell you that you suck.
I don't give a fuck. Say my name.
Here's the thing. I don't want to be mean to anybody who doesn't like the show. If you don't like the show, that's cool. But at the same time, it's these kind of comments that discourage people from being creative. And luckily for Aaron and I, we are so narcissistic that we will continue on regardless of what anyone else thinks. I don't care what anyone says.
I don't think it has anything to do with narcissism.
I'll have a little bit.
Maybe. I don't think I
don't think you'd have a podcast without being narcissistic in a little way.
True. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, and I don't think there's anybody that will argue this, but yeah, I do like to hear myself talk majority of the time.
Yep.
But I will say that a podcaster is somebody who enjoys talking, and
also the conversation.
So that's the problem with podcasters. Why are you, if you have a problem with podcasters, why are you listening to a podcast, let alone commenting on it? But anyway, regardless, thank you for listening. And thank you for, the interaction. It's helping build us into the algorithm.
We appreciate the algorithm boost.
We appreciate you.
And that Paul Pope conversation is doing really well.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
I hope we get to a point at some point in our Oblivion Bar history, episode 400, we're sitting here talking again, maybe not in Philadelphia, but somewhere else. I don't think we mentioned we're in Philadelphia today. You and I are together.
Oh, yeah.
We're actually together.
Holy shit.
Boop, boop. We just touched. So everybody, we're physically together. But episode 400, I hope we have a ton of hate mail. Like so much. I want to create a segment on the show that's about hate mail. Because the thing
that
is,
would be fun.
People out there who have never created anything in their lives are the ones that comment stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
They've never created a thing in their lives because no one can have that kind of vitriol and hate towards something, a creative venture like that, unless they are so embarrassed with the fact that they can't do something similar.
I mean, there's the other aspect that they did try and it didn't succeed, and they're just frustrated, which that's fine also. But again, I think about it like the guy from the Adam Sandler film, Big Daddy. You're not mad at me, you're mad at your father. You're right.
I hate my father.
So it's like, you're right. Like people who have put their heart and soul into something that succeeded or failed, regardless of the outcome.
Yeah.
I don't think that they look at other people and want to shit on them for doing something that like building it and continuing to do it. Because if anything, you have a sense of like, I don't know, admiration or anything. Because like if I see somebody, there's plenty of things that I failed at that I was not good at. And I look at other people and there's there's that tinge of jealousy, but there's also that tinge of admiration because you know what, maybe they weren't good at it and they just kept practicing and they got better at it.
That's the developed opinion, right?
Yeah.
Like if you're a developed, mature human, you go, of course, every time I see someone like when I see our friends in the podcasting world getting this big guest, there's a second, not even a second, like a half a second where I go, oh, damn it. That's good. That's a great guest.
Yeah.
Damn it. How'd they do that? But then I'm immediately happy for them because that's awesome for them and for their show and for the listeners. But like, of course, I think it's all of our immediate reaction to be like green with envy, but it's important for us to like prop each other up, especially I hope this person that left this comment. And again, I hate that we're focusing so much on this hate moment, but like, I think it's funny and interesting and sort of a growth reflection. But, I hope that they eventually find their niche. And also we should be, if they are a comic reader, like it seems like they are, there's enough hate out there anyway.
Yeah.
Like
I hope that they wrote that as they were listening, and then maybe they forgot to hit send on the positive comment.
they like sneezed and then it deleted the other half.
Once they listened to the actual episode and the rest of it, like, oh, I understand these guys fart sniff away, my friends.
Yeah.
And then like they forgot to hit enter and send
it's
on
still
like
sitting there right now.
I take it back, period. Continue to sniff farts! exclamation point. And then they're like, they spilled their iced chai latte on their computer and like, fuck, I'll never be able to take it back. And it's like, you can't. You just can't take back the hate.
And we've been talking about it for 15 minutes now. Because they spilled their latte.
Damn, sorry about your latte, bro. Thanks for the listen.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about I'm just gonna spitball some questions I have off the top of my head. Just top of brain, first thing that comes to mind, last 100 episodes, so nothing before episode 100. Does a particular interview really stick out in your brain as one that you are really proud of and one that you think, wow, we nailed that and that was so much fun? And that's like, if you were ever going to have someone listen to the Oblivion Bar podcast, you were going to hand them this interview.
I think honestly for me, it would be Priest.
Oh, Christopher Priest. Yeah, of course. What a great conversation with him too. What a legend. 50 years in the comic industry, sort of always overlooked in certain aspects.
Yeah.
I mean, like his Black Panther art is of course decorated, but you don't last 50 years in the comic book world by just making one successful Black Panther book in the 90s. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I think for me, it was just one thing that you and I have kind of discussed and what we're working to do better at is bringing on, marginalized, what would you call that? Like marginalized groups.
Yeah.
Like
we've been on a white guy streak recently.
Yeah. So we've had a lot of white dudes.
A lot of white dudes recently.
And
that's
so,
cool.
reaching out to, creators who are, LGBTQ plus, people, non-white. I want to say like people, POC.
Anyone who doesn't look like me.
Yeah. Because for me, it's important. Like representation matters. Like we've seen 100%. That so many times when, we see these superhero films and stars on the screen. And I'm trying to remember which superhero film it was, but some guy posted a video of his kid who was black or mixed and had like really long curly hair and saw, I think it might have been Spider-Man. I don't remember who the character was on the screen, but the little kid was so excited because he saw a character in a superhero movie that looked exactly like him.
Huh.
And it was just, that was in
maybe it was Into the Spider-Verse.
Yeah. Like an awe-inspiring moment. And I thought it was incredible. And so, that's one thing that, we've had a few LGBTQ creators. We've invited quite a few. I understand that there might be some nervousness. There might be some trepidation when it comes to going on to an interview.
Especially they don't know us.
Especially when they don't know us. And it's a very, it's a scary world out there right now. So for me, it's important when we get these non-traditional guests, like who have done incredible things, whether it's their first creative adventure, or it's like somebody like, Christopher Priest, who has been in the comic community for decades. Like it is so inspiring. It's so important. And it was just incredible to, again, for me, it was so important because I got to talk to him about Superman Lost, which is one of the most impactful storylines that I've read to date.
Finally got you to read a Superman comic.
Yeah. Finally got me to read a Superman comic and got to somehow got me to relate to the Man of Steel, which I never had that connectivity,
Still find that crazy, but I get it.
Yeah. And so what do you find crazy about it? That I haven't?
Superman.
Yet?
Yeah. I believe that Superman is one of the most relatable characters in existence, but it's also not my place to tell you which characters you connect with.
Yeah.
Because just off the top of my head, there's all-time great comics that I can't connect with. Like Sandman is a good example of that for me. It's not necessarily a character, but it's a storyline that everyone that I respect and enjoy say they love it, but I don't love it.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a disconnect for me in this story. And you have that, I think, with Superman. I think you've even had a little bit with Wonder Woman as well. Like these iconic characters that have appealed to a certain mass of people, but it took a specific story to get you there. And that happens all the time.
Yeah. But there was a saying, and I don't remember what it was, but it was like, there's no bad comic or something. There's just, you just haven't read the right story or the right, and I find that true. But again, Christopher Priest's Superman Lost, and, just being able to talk to him about that was, for me, it was a moment. It was a great moment for me because, again, I would be remiss if I didn't make this comment during this show specifically, but as the newer one in the comic realm.
We need to retire that for episode 200. Never again can Aaron say that he is the newer one to comics.
Okay.
If you have a podcast that's gone 200 episodes talking about comics, you are no longer new to comics.
I mean, it's still true between you and I. But anyways, my point.
And most people are like that with me. No offense. I mean, I'm not trying to boast myself, but I care about this stuff way too much.
Yeah. But my point being that it's very rare. I mean, not rare, but in this industry, there are so many unknowns for me.
Sure.
And with unknowns, there's questions that I haven't asked. There's topics that I haven't dealt with. As a kid growing up who's mixed, who's black and white, I did face a lot of questions about my ethnicity, about my personality, about my choices.
Because you're mixed, right?
Because I'm mixed. Yeah. And because my brother always acted a little bit darker. I say darker because people would ask me, why don't you act more black, growing up? And so I think about, in the grand scheme of things, that there are people who have, issues with race and obviously my parents raised me to be aware that there are going to be people when I go into the job market, in the military, et cetera, experience life. There's going to be people with ideas of racial inequality, et cetera. But to talk to a guy like Christopher Priest, who has been such an such a a part of the, like an impactful, like beautiful, extremely creative part of the comic industry for so long, to feel like that and to have that mindset. It's mind opening, but mind blowing at the same time. So it's just like, these are incredible experiences that we're having while being able to have a conversation about what they've created.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we're not only bringing this information and these feelings to the world, but we're experiencing them ourselves firsthand. So this show has been.
That is, I think, the greatest perk of this show is that we selfishly get to talk to these folks, but then we get to share it with everybody. And then they get to feel like they're in on the conversation.
Exactly.
Which is my favorite part about podcasting. It's part of the reason why I don't usually watch any podcasts. I know that sounds kind of silly as a podcaster, but I don't really like the video format. I obviously share our interviews on YouTube, but for the most part, when I'm listening to podcasts, I am listening to podcasts. I don't watch podcasts. I think that's like the weirdest thing ever, that people are starting to trend more towards watching podcasts. I don't know.
I think there's going to be when I went to Podcast Movement and a couple other events, like it's going to be like parallel growth.
Yeah.
Because there's going to be a lot of people who are just like you. There's people who can, engage into content and absorb it and digest it visually. But then there's going to still be plenty of people out there who just like aren't in a place, who have to drive somewhere, who have to ride on the train or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's going to be audio for them. So.
Yeah. I guess I'll answer my own question too. I mean, obvious answer here, Brian K. Vaughan. Over the last 100 episodes, it's my favorite interview that we've ever had on the show in general. It's my favorite episode we've ever done. Unfortunately, Aaron, you weren't there for the actual interview, but I think we had a great talk before and after. And Brian, being that he is my favorite writer of all time, like if you had asked, again, that Chris and Aaron back in April of 2020, who are 3 people that you would want to have on the show, my first answer would have been Brian K. Vaughan.
Yeah. And you didn't think it was ever going to happen.
I didn't think it was ever going to happen because he does not generally do podcasts. I think I've only heard maybe a handful that he's ever done. And when I had the opportunity, I jumped at it. And my gosh, did it just like turn out perfectly. Like he was so awesome and warm and generous with his time. And that conversation turned out really well. And I was on my game somehow, even though I was nervous as fuck. And I didn't stutter a ton. And I think I like practiced myself into submission to the point where like when it came down to actually, and the funny thing is that I had another question for him, like in the transcript that I didn't end up asking him. This is a little behind the scenes, everybody. I had a Silver Surfer question that I wanted to ask him because when we met, the only time that he and I have ever met, he and I had this really cool connection about my Silver Surfer tattoo. He loves Silver Surfer. I'm actually kind of surprised that he's never written the character, but he and I talked for like 15 minutes about Silver Surfer. And I had this question about Silver Surfer and we didn't get to it because I didn't want to take too much of his time. We were already like brinking on an hour. So I didn't get to it. But then at the end, when I pressed, because I sent him the transcript beforehand, I was overly prepared for this conversation with BKV. I sent him the transcript and I was like, just so you know, this is what I'm going to be asking you. And at the end, when I had ended the recording, he goes, oh, wait, there's a Silver Surfer question. I wanted to talk about it. And I did like a face palm because it sounded like he wanted to talk about it too.
Yeah.
So I would love to tie that into a lesson in podcasting if there's any podcasters listening, but truthfully, you can only be so prepared for these conversations.
Yeah.
And I think the one thing that I've learned from interviewing and the one thing I've learned from the Oblivion Bar is that the more prepared and the more nervous you are for these interviews, the less prepared and the more likely you're going to fail. I know it's easy to say, but like you got to go in and just be like, these guys are talented nerds.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, it's exactly that. There is a point of over preparation.
Yeah.
I mean, we could always call that like, preparation H.
It does feel good on the whole.
It feels good on the whole, but
why you just call it Operation Ass Cream, you ass.
Yeah. It just may not be the appropriate level of preparation. No, I think that's one thing. Because going into this show, I've had years of experience doing interviews. Because I have my journalistic background, especially dealing with the military. I've interviewed a lot of, just people I should never probably have spoken to in person, but I did. But it's so different when you are talking about something that you're like the military and like strategy and, quality of life and things that matter to the military. And then going into, switching and pivoting and going into, interviewing about something that you really have no idea about. And it's just like a vast world that you can almost never, like there's no
There's no knowing everything.
There's no hose that is large enough to blast you with to get you all that information at one time, nor can you process it all. So I think that that's one thing that I have really gained from this.
Can I build
let me
off that
finish
really
my
quick?
thought, please?
Do it.
There's no, goddamn, I lost it.
And there it goes.
And it's gone.
And it's gone. I was just going to say that I think I love that you're highlighting that, because even as someone who loves the comics, I can't know everything either. Maybe we should stop looking at it as like a challenge of learning everything and looking at it as through the lens of curiosity, and that like, let's approach this from a place of inquisitiveness and like always act like the dumbest person in the room.
Yeah.
And like use that as a tool rather than like a crux.
I would challenge that thought.
Challenge the challenge.
Yes, only because it's a double dog challenge.
Double dog dare challenge.
Yes, exactly. Almost double dare, like yeah. No, I would say that we're already entering that phase of the show.
Yeah.
And I feel like that because we have officially accepted the fact that, and I use the idea that we have this bad track record of having nothing but white guys on the show.
Well, recently.
Minus
Christopher Priest.
Yes, but we have accepted the fact that we need to broaden our own horizons.
Yeah.
And we've done that. We've already taken several steps to do that with segments like our Midnight Rewind.
Yeah.
It's
a fun one.
Bringing a little bit more manga and anime and things like you've started doing that as well. You've really started getting into reading manga.
Yeah.
Again, doing the Midnight Rewind, we focus on anime films and not just superhero films or superhero television shows or anything else. And I think that as we continue to expand our category of like who we bring onto the show and what we're looking for, I want to say it's the Oni Press's genderqueer, which we're something to look for on the horizon. We are very much in that evolution, in that phase change where we understand that we have a responsibility to not only broaden the horizons of ourselves but our audience as well, so that we can challenge the norms of what people do on these podcasts and who they have on. Because the reason that there's these marginalized groups that aren't getting represented on things like podcasts and stuff is because nobody thinks to talk to them or invite them on, and they're not used to it, so they're nervous and they don't have the desire to do it. Let's change that.
Yeah. Plus, their identity online is to be made fun of. Like we're living, unfortunately, in a world in 2025 where there's a large group of people, I think, especially in America, but everywhere, that like to punch down and like to, make fun of those that have a harder time standing up for themselves. We're at 9:00 right now. We're at 40 minutes. Do you want to close it down? We start shutting her down now, or are you cool to do like 15 more?
What do you think, babe? It only took an hour 45 to get here.
We're just going to do 15 more minutes. Is that cool? Okay, cool. All right. So next topic here, I want to ask you, what is I feel like I'm interviewing you right now. This is weird.
Well, why don't you let me ask you a question?
Ask me a question, damn it.
I want to know, when it comes to the segments of the show, we've introduced a few new ones, but we've also had our favorites. For you, what would you consider your favorite segment, and which iteration of it?
What's funny is this might be a cop-out answer, but it's the interview. I love the interview on the show. I think that's our best segment. I think that's the reason why most people listen. I think we're good at it. Again, fart sniffing, here it is. But I love the interview because it gets us the opportunity to talk to creators that we already enjoy. Like everyone listening, I'm sure you probably already know this, but we don't talk to anybody on the show that we don't already enjoy their work. So it just gives us an excuse to talk to them, and then we get to put it out to all of you to listen. So if I don't give like a sort of a vanilla answer like that, I would say I really, really love Battle Royale.
Yeah.
I think it's between that and the Comic Creators Fantasy Draft, which we've only done 2 of, but both of those have been really fun. Having a lot of our podcasting friends come over and do that is so much fun. But Battle Royale, when it's just me and you, and we get to discuss 5 random battles and figure out who would win. And we're very, we're competitive, but we're also fair. It's just a lot of fun. What about you?
Man, I agree with both of those. But I think using the interview segment is an absolute cop out. So I accept your answer of Battle Royale. Man, I gotta say, like, I do love Battle Royale. I really enjoy Midnight Rewind.
Yeah,
I really enjoy Midnight Rewind, and
we created that segment for you.
Yeah, not for just me, but for the anime lovers.
We thought it up because of your love of anime and because I know nothing about anime. Yeah. So it's a fun sort of switcheroo where you get to sit in the pilot seat and I get to sort of sit. I'm Chewie, you're Han.
I think that we need to do more of those, at least up the amount. So we just got to come up with a list of some significant films, because we've done Paprika, which was incredible. We've done Akira, which is just a staple.
It's the anime, I think.
It is the anime. Princess Mononoke was one that we did.
Yep.
There's just so many. I think we did My Neighbor Totoro.
No, not yet.
We haven't done that yet? Okay, so
probably wait a little while on Ghibli.
Yeah.
But I think if we do Ghibli, it'll be a lesser known one.
I don't think anybody should do Ghibli.
Don't do Ghibli.
Don't do Ghibli.
You always don't Ghibli.
I think that I'll probably come up with a quick list, because there's a few that I'm enjoying, and I think that the interesting about Midnight Rewind is we don't have to do just movies. It's a lot of shows, which you can just watch a few episodes of to kind of get a feel for, because they're pretty consistent in quality. But if you wanted to watch the entirety, some of these aren't too long. Like, one of my absolute favorites of all time is Gurren Lagann, Tengatoppa Gurren Lagann, which is made by the same people who did Promare and Kill la Kill. Gurren Lagann is one of my absolute favorites of all time. You got Blue Sub number 6.
Did you say Zebra Man was one that you wanted to do?
Zebra Man is not an anime, but if we're going to do import films, it is one of my absolute top favorites. I was actually going through, something that's kind of a thing that people don't know is, when you deploy during like my early years in the army, when you deploy to Iraq or you deploy to Afghanistan, there are a lot of shops and like bazaar, style shops, bodegas sometimes, and they will have bootleg movies. Yeah. And so it's funny because like I still have my DVD like cases, like CD cases, where I have like just huge collections of bootleg DVDs.
Are these like bootleg DVDs where someone just like converted a recorded VHS movie onto a
lot of
disc?
them are. A lot of them are. But
awesome.
I went through and I was like looking at them. Like I have the entirety of X-Files, Stargate. I have the entirety of, like, for some reason I have like Pee-wee's Playhouse, like season 1.
Yeah.
Just like ridiculous amounts. But I forgot how, like, during that time, like how into like anime and Japanese, like, like import films, like you've never heard of this one, but it's a crazy awesome science fiction film called Zaram. There's a second one. It's actually based off a manga, based off an anime film. The live actions are insane. Like, we're talking stop motion clay figures. It's incredible.
Huh.
But yeah, there's just some really good stuff out there. And I think that I'd like to go forward with the show and maybe even create a new segment for just like import films and like bring some more of this stuff to the audiences and potentially even bring in some new guest hosts. I think we've had some really fun guest hosts. Erica Fett was one for when we did the monkey review, and that was an incredible experience.
I love this noodling of an idea. I would love to create a segment where we bring someone on the show and they present a movie to us to watch.
Ooh.
And then we all sort of talk about it round table style.
I also like your use of the word noodling.
Noodle.
Yeah.
Noodling ideas. We do that here. That would be fun. The import obviously is a great idea too, but yeah, I mean, we're going to continue to come up with new segments and such. I just love the movie review sort of format that we have.
Yeah.
I just love like when I go see a new movie, sometimes I get kind of bummed that we can't talk about it on the show.
Yeah.
Like like Life of Chuck. I think that's a movie that you would have really liked because I contain multitudes, you contain multitudes. And I think like, I wish we had a space for that.
Yeah.
I guess we could do it on the grid if we wanted to. And I guess we could absolutely do it on the show, but just no one would listen. Like that's sort of the downfall, is that we could talk about the materialist on the podcast. But in reality, who wants to hear us talk about Chris Evans, Dakota Johnson?
Well, that's what the grid is for. We always have, we haven't talked very much about the grid during this episode, but we have the grid, which is our Patreon exclusive episode, and you can get a free trial at patreon.com/Oblivion Bar Pod.
That's 2 shameless plugs.
That's 2 shameless plugs. But you can, that's where we talk about movies that we enjoy that may not be fit or may not be, relevant for the actual show on the main feed. So that might be something that we want to like bring up a little bit more, and we can do our homework on the for the grid and give them a little bit more zhuzh, in that field. But I think this show has just so much potential to grow and to be, again, this sandbox, this Tron grid, our own digital playground where digital frontier where we can create and again, I mean, I think we do this because we love it, and we can love more of it the more that we do that we love of this thing that we're doing that we love.
That was a nice word salad that you just sort of found that was like a improv. That's like, what does Michael Scott call it? Improvisation. Yeah. I find it along the way. I find the ending at some point.
Oh my God. He's
anyway,
such a cringe.
I think we're nearing towards the end of episode 200, everybody. I think if you really take anything from this mindless rambling about the last 100 episodes, and Aaron and I,
200.
Well, I guess I'm talking about, because we were together for, we'll just say 200. Yeah. I was sort of thinking of the last 100 because
I know what you were saying, but I wanted you to say 200.
All of 200 episodes, the last 200 episodes, plus the 171 on Patreon, plus the 40 or 50 bonus episodes we put out. I think if you take anything is that we absolutely love doing this show. And, any engagement that you send us, any listens, any follows, any likes, it is so appreciated to a point that I can't even really articulate it. I think the only way that we can continue to show how much we appreciate it is by continuing to do the show.
Yeah.
And the fact that anyone listens to our mindless rambling about movies and comics and television, video games and anime and all the things, or anyone lets us talk to comic creators, the fact that they keep letting us do this is such, I'm not religious, but it's a blessing. It's the universe rewarding us for something, I think. Maybe that's a narcissistic way of thinking of it, but I also think that and I'm talking about from the position of a comics fan and as a movie fan, those two things specifically, I think both of those industries are hurting terribly for positive voices. And while we're not always positive about movies, I think we've come to agree that we will never talk about comics in a negative way on the show. It will always be, if we don't like a comic, we don't talk about it. If we like a comic, we'll shout from the mountaintops.
Again, as we discussed off, Mike, we've talked about if there are things that we don't like about something that we generally need to or should talk about. There are ways of doing it. There are ways of kind of recognizing the good parts of it.
Yeah.
While not necessarily highlighting, but still bringing attention to the things that may not be for everybody. That may not be everybody's cup of tea. There's been plenty of things that I've read that weren't necessarily my cup of tea, but I was able to find something in there that was of value to me, and that's stories, that's books, that's movies, one of the most anticipated movies that I was waiting for years ago was The Dark Tower, which is one of my favorite book series by Stephen King. I love the Dark Tower series. I've read every single, there's 7 of them at least in the main part of the series. And I've read those multiple times, plus listened to them audio tape. And that movie was atrocious, but there are some really amazing things in that. And if I can find amazing things in something that is literally taking a shit on one thing that I love, I think that takes great skill and patience. And I think we can do that for a lot of things.
Yeah, absolutely. So I guess let's end on, where would you like to see the Oblivion Bar in another 100 episodes? Is there one particular thing that you would like to see us accomplish or continue to do or do better or get to in some capacity? Is there anything to strive for at this point? Or do we just,
I think,
do we keep on keeping on like Joe Dirt?
I think we keep on keeping on because life's a garden. You got to dig it.
You just going to keep picking on little Joe Dirt?
Yeah.
When Jesus comes back?
I'm your sister. I'm your sister. No, I would say that the thing that I would love to see is us not only continuing to interview comic creators, but other creators, other medium creators as well. You know, I love, you know, obviously we've had, you know, David Weiner on the show, who is you know, our Lord and Savior and the
God bless.
and the, you know, inspiration behind our rating system for all of our movies. But I would love to bring on potentially more, like, again, people who have written for shows, written movies, directed, acted in, novelists. You know, we've had
voice actors.
Exactly all these. We've had those, you know, people, those industries on the show in the past. You know, Ailey Martinez, who is, you know, one of my favorite authors on this planet, was one of our first novelists that came on the show. We've had, I mean, Brian K. Vaughan, who is a writer who has written for several TV shows. I mean, we've had several people who have done many things in many different industries. I think that having, you know, bringing on people to talk about the current things that they're either working on or like getting to that level, that's what I'd like to see this year.
A little more variety.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I like that. I've always found that, or at least I've sort of directed us in the I put us in the direction of like a specific niche. I can't talk right now. Niche interests, you know, comics, movies, television, video games. If it doesn't do with that, I'd say we don't do it. But like, I agree with you. I think there is something to be said about like just bringing on people that we like to talk about. Because at the end of the day, those conversations are valuable if like we have the passion behind it.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, the one thing that I'd like for us to do, well, I want to get a freaking panel at San Diego Comic-Con. That's like one of my biggest. I know you're going to you have a panel with, you know, your particular work, but I want to do a Oblivion Bar panel at San Diego at some point. Yeah. I want to moderate a panel as well. These are more personal goals, but like through the show.
Yeah. Well, I think and we can talk about this like off mic or, you know, off the show, but like, I think we're at a level that we can do that. I think it's just, for us, I think it's about getting like buy-in from people on the, like, from people in the community, like creators. Like if we can kind of develop the idea of like, I don't know, Oblivion Bar Pod panel or live show where we interview and we set up a couple of, like, we get, who knows who's going to be at the next San Diego Comic-Con. If we can get a couple of creators on board that would be willing to like step aside and come up on stage with us. Yeah. If we can pitch that as value to not only, you know, the community of the Comic-Con, but to, you know, content and those consumers at the same time, get the backing of, you know, Marvel, DC, whomever they work for.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that that's a great way to start. I think that that's completely possible. We just have to get started on it now because we know how hard it is to get panels approved by them. The guy, Shane, who is the guy who's going to be facilitating the panel that I'm going to be on, said that he had been working for 3 years to get this panel approved, and it finally got approved.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's kind of, I feel like it happens a lot with San Diego. But I guess to round out the show and to answer my own question, I want us to continue to do what we're doing. And I want us, I guess as always, to just continue to streamline the show in a way that makes it enjoyable for us, but also at the same time makes the show better. And if we're making people at home happy and they're listening and all the things, I'm happy. Yeah. And we talked about a little bit on the grid. I can't remember if we talked about it here during this episode because these two episodes have kind of blended together a little bit. But I'm happy with the quality of the product that we're putting out right now. Maybe minus this episode because we're not in front of mics and we don't have a transcript. But I still think this is a great episode because we're here talking together. But I think if we just continue to have fun and make the show better, and people continue to listen and engage with the show, that's all I want anymore. I don't, again, as I said before, like I was so obsessed with like making the show grow and make the Oblivion Bar this like huge thing where like miraculously the Ringer was going to come knocking at our door and say, hey, you want to join our network?
Yeah.
No, I don't really care for that anymore. Not that I wouldn't answer the call if they call it, but like point being is that I just love doing the show now. And there's peace to that.
Yeah.
You know, and we love doing this. So
I think that opens us up to more exciting things because when you don't expect those great opportunities to come down, you kind of just are very much focused on the product at hand and being present in it.
Yeah.
And I think that allows you to be less prepared, yet more excited when the opportunity does come. And I think that we are on that upward trajectory, no matter how hard we push it.
Yeah.
We are on that upward trajectory because we're getting emails from legendary people about our interviews and about their experiences on this show. And that right there is just, that's where we want to be. So.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm going to pitch it to you one last time before we get out of here. Is there anything you want to say to the listener before we head out of episode 200 of the Oblivion Bar podcast?
Just this. Mwah.
Did you feel it? Did you feel everybody? You get one from me too. Mwah. Thank you all so much for listening to the Oblivion Bar. We appreciate it. We genuinely cannot say it with any more sincerity. It means the world to us that any of you would spend any amount of time listening to this silly little show. And Aaron and I will continue to not take it for granted. And we will continue on. We'll keep on keeping on because life's a garden.
And you got to fucking dig it.
You got to fucking dig it. Thank you all so much for listening to the Oblivion Bar. We will see you next week after San Diego Comic-Con. We're going to take a week off after this. We'll see you the following week going into August for episode 201. Oh, sorry. Do you want to close this out, Aaron?
Yeah, I got to close this out.
Sorry, I forgot.
Leave that in.
I guess I got to leave that in.
All right. Subscribe to our podcast, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, Audible, iHeartRadio, wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. That's where we are. Thank you to our patron. I almost had that right. Thank you to our patrons, Alex Ellis, Aaron Botter, Chris S., Chris White, Chrissy David, Elliott, Erica George, Yanni, Greg, Haley Hamsick, Jake, Jeremy, Kyle, Losi, Mac Miles, Mike, Olivia, Ryan, I, Robert, Sandra, Sebastian, John, Trevor, Travis, Zach, and Brad and Lisa. If you want to support the show without spending any money, a follow on your preferred podcasting platform and 5-star rating and a review on Apple Podcasts. Since Spotify helps the show a ton. Follow us on Blue Sky, Instagram, TikTok, and Twitch at Oblivion Bar Pod. Official merch for the show is on our website, OblivionBarPodcast.com. Big thank you to Oni Press and Endless Comics Games Cards for sponsoring the show. Thank you, KXD Studios, for all of our Oblivion Bar art. He's at KXD Graphics on Instagram. Thank you, Dream Kid, for all of our musical themes. Thank you, DJ Skyvac, for our grid theme. And don't forget to tip your bartenders 20% or more. You're a piece of shit.
That's right. All right, for real this time. Thank you all so much for listening to the Oblivion Bar. We appreciate it. We are out of here for episode. I don't know why he always does it so fast, but it was better in person.
Was it?
It was better, yeah.
That's what she said.
All right, buddy. Thank you so much. We appreciate it. We'll see you next week for episode 201.
I like to challenge myself.